the 1980s, when Michael Jackson was at his peak, he thought to himself, I really need a video game made about me. So he contacted Sega about making a game based on his massively over-choreographed music video Smooth Criminal. And not wanting to miss the opportunity to make a buck, Sega said yes. So Sega got working day and night to produce this thriller of a game. Michael Jacksons Moonwalker, which utilised the Sega System 18 hardware and a 3-player cabinet, so you and 2 of your just good friends can play together. The gameplay is essentially a beat 'em up at its core, and utilises this isometric perspective to give a sort of 3-dimensional effect. In 3-player mode, one player controls Michael Jackson in his smooth criminal white suit, with player 2 probably controlling Weird Al Yankovic in a red smooth criminal suit, and then player 3 controls Chris Tucker in a black smooth criminal suit. I mean, how could you have 3 Michael Jacksons? Unless, of course, he was standing in front of 2 mirrors and looking at the man in the mirror. But you know what would be even better than controlling Michael Jackson? Is if Michael Jackson turned into this robot and started blasting everything and oh my god! There it is!
I love you, Michael. Yeah.
Instead of punching and kicking like a conventional beat 'em up, Moonwalker has Michael Jackson shooting magic balls from his hand, which he can charge up for a more powerful attack, and most enemies are dispersed with just a single hit. You can collect a dance move that acts as a special attack, with Michael leading all the enemies on a jolly dance to one of his famous hits, before making them all disappear. As well as battling your way through hordes of Mr. Big's henchmen, Jacko has to save children who have been kidnapped by Mr. Big. You simply walk up to them and then they thank you and that's it. She's out of my life after that. The game has various levels all set in or inspired by the Smooth Criminal music video, and in between levels you get these little comic strip boxes to help lay out the task at hand. I remember the time I played this in the arcades with a few mates. Joker's Amusements in Paisley had this 3-player cabinet right next to the front door, and the volume was pretty loud on it. You couldn't help but to notice it. The attract sequence made the game look good, and so we decided, why not give it a go in 3-player? It could be a laugh. We didn't want to be starting something until all 3 of us were ready to start, and so once we had enough change, we took control of a Jackson each and wow! This game is surprisingly good. It's certainly not a bad game. In 3-player, it was a real blast, and I have to say, it was a real coin muncher. The challenge was there in the game. It wasn't exactly an easy game to beat, and we all agreed that you don't stop till you get enough points to have our initials on the scoreboard. This game was a good example of how I liked my arcade games. Loud, brash, and great fun to play. So when word appeared in magazines that Moonwalker was going to appear in the Mega Drive, I knew I wanted it for my collection. this version of Moonwalker was worlds apart from the arcade version. And yes, this was a repeat of the eSWAT situation, where an arcade game and the Mega Drive port look like completely different games. But would this be the pleasant surprise that eSWAT was? Well, in a nutshell, no. This was just some lame platform game that had you control Michael as he looked in cupboards, windows, car boots and bushes for the little kids. That actually sounds very creepy now, especially when we know what he had been accused of in the 90s. One wonders, is Michael saving these kids or tracking them down? I mean, as soon as he saves them, they run off, presumably to hide somewhere else. Visually and sonically, this game is fine. There are decent representations of his classic tunes such as Smooth Criminal and Billie Jean, and the animation on Michael is great, especially his dance and moonwalk. But this game is a very tedious game to play. Other than wanting to hear the soundtrack on each level, there isn't really a reason to play through the game. And there is no Robot Jacko. Come on guys, what the heck? I did want this game. As soon as I heard it was coming to the Mega Drive, I wanted it, as I thought it was going to be just like the arcade version. And when a mate of mine got it on Jap Import for Christmas 1990, I couldn't believe it was so different. And so boring as well. In reality, I told my mate this game should never have been taken off the wall from where it was hanging, and he agreed. The reason this game didn't represent the arcade version was not so black and white. It's just the Sega System 18 hardware was too much for the Mega Drive to cope with. I would say the arcade version of this game was a massive blast, especially on 3-player, as most games are, but the home ports are best avoided at all costs. Anyway, that was my look back at Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. If you like this video, then please do give me a sub and a thumbs up, or maybe even a comment or two below about your memories of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. That's all from me folks. Thanks for watching.